All right, folks. I just wanted to point out a couple things that I noticed from the last video. It seems to be the way things go. What is new here? I don't know. All right, we'll just save it. So a couple things I noticed. One was when I was working on that last time, I created a shred called email.php. So in the shreds folder, the idea of the shreds folder, again, is to provide just a way to stick a file that's going to be loaded automatically. Everything in the shreds folder gets loaded into the page core. Anyway, I digress. Okay, if you don't know what I'm talking about, by the way, go back to video 1, go back to video 5, something like that. Bounce on your way back and catch up. Some of them are a little bit boring. I get it. Fast forward, skim, read the subtitles it generates. And if you can't hear, I'm sorry, but I explain everything while I write it. All right. What we had last time has been shrunk down into this, and it actually did not need to extend the model. It's a shred. It doesn't even really have to be in a class, but it's just a nice way of handling it. We could even make the class abstract because it's just a way to signal to ourselves we're not going to be using this for anything other than static functions. We might extend email with some other stuff later, but for now, this is fine. We're not going to be sending a ton of emails. And if we did have a marketing campaign, that would be done through something else. This is just for the server. Now, if you weren't around last time, host is, or if you weren't clear, if it wasn't clear last time, host is where we store the lostastronaut.com. Okay, we did that. We got all that done. I'm going to take a little pause, I think, because I'm going to get interrupted soon. But essentially what we're going to do next, take a look at the actions we need to create, make sure that absolutely everything is wrapped up. I think we're pretty close. There's certainly some user functions that we might want to look into. We have some default values to set up just to get us started with the game object. What is that noise? What was that? What did that mean? Did I run out of, what happened there? What is that noise? I'm going to pause the video for a second. I'll be right back in your time, but in my time, it might be a little bit. Tomorrow, Friday for me, going to be spending some time at the home working for my employer, and then when I'm done with that, I plan to get right back into this Pixie nonsense, or maybe I'll play a game, but I'll probably not play a game because the only way to make a game is to stop playing one. So I'm going to pause here. I'll be right back in. All right, so I've taken some time to build up some changes, and I'm just going to go through them with you now instead of you having to watch me write them. So we added last IP. What this does is in session create new, we added a field into the database that stores the last IP of the user when they're logging in, so that, I guess, so that in the future we can extend the IP features to detect people logging in from multiple places and things like that might indicate problematic accounts. That'll grow to include that logic someday, but for now it's just storing the last IP so we can know where they are. This server is a validation server, so it has all of the required understanding of how the game works. A lesser complicated server would merely do matchmaking and would rely on the clients. Obviously, those could be hacked. There's no way to really solve the hacking, cheating problem entirely. There's certainly been many attempts over the years to create anti-cheat systems. But one way is just to be able to track their IP, So for one reason, we're tracking their IP because we want to validate their account logins. Maybe send them an email from, to the email address in the account talking about what IP logged in. But another reason that we have the last IP is so we can monitor. Sorry, it's late in the day. But another reason we want the last IP is to be able to, monitor a single IP address and try to decrease any spamming bots, ignoring requests from an IP that come too rapidly. So that'll happen eventually. But both of these things are not going to be in place when I upload the first version to GitHub, which is going to happen pretty soon. So what else did I do? I've marked every single change or new function with this little green extra space. Let's see what else we got. Okay, I added add metal. Add metal allows you to add arbitrary metals to the metals JSON, which also includes both a metals list, which is an array of name, type, icon, and info. What's going to go in those is not yet decided. Icon may be a number, might be an image name. Probably a number is more efficient. Name and description, again, could be a number, more efficient than actually storing over and over again those things, unless you wanted to customize them in some way. But that'll store a metal on the user. There's no current action that does that, but as the game part gets worked out, we can use this so the server can do this. This wouldn't be something that a client would request. But a client might play a game and therefore win a medal at the end, that kind of thing. And then we created add badge, which adds a badge to the account. And badges are like unique. They each have a unique alphanumeric code, which has to be a valid JavaScript object property name. And that's going to contain name, type, icon, info. So in this case, you can only have the badge one time. All right. So more like an achievement. And then the third thing that we added to this is the user model, by the way. The third thing that we added was validate email. And what that does is it does all the things required of validating the email when activation occurs. So what that means is that it switches on the email verified tag. It turns off the activation key and expiry requirement, which just gave me a thought here. I want to make sure. All right, that should fix the logic there for users who are logged in, have a verified email, but have no activation expiry. So expired is called by the cron task over and over again, usually once a day, once every 2 days. And that will delete user accounts that haven't been activated to keep the number of accounts low. Okay, obviously bots can overcome all of this, but for now, this is the way it's going to go. All right, that's it for this particular model file. Let's take a look at some of the other files I modified. Just make sure. Okay, so we added a create new, or modified the create new in session to include the last IP call, which stores the remote address of the last IP used by that user. That's all we did there. So it's related to that. What else? Okay, so in game we added playing game, which is a method for the game model that returns the currently played game, and it limits it to a single game returned. I just realized I have to say return. And then we've got activate lobby, active lobby rather. Active lobby is similar to playing game. It's just picking up one of the active lobbies that the user is a part of, right? So just fixing little bugs there, but pretty much that's all that does. Similar to active games for user, but it returns only the first one, or the only one if there is only one. See this add user to game. None of this is new. Still haven't written the abort game stuff. Some of this is just, you have to wait until, I mean, I could write something there, but I need to test all of this stuff. And I think the next video is going to be about testing all of these different actions. But before we get to that, we might as well write all of the UI elements in the client and get the client ready. So instead of just testing it right out, we can test it as we're building out the client. Okay, so there was a fix to API chats. It now gets the active lobby, and then this is actually incomplete. So what this is going to do is, so I'm not sure if chats actually is being removed after a timer, but basically we're going to store the chat. The idea here is that we're chatting to a lobby, so we're going to get that working probably once we have a lobby. What else? Game setting. This actually doesn't do anything because, and again, it's hard to work on a part that you don't know what's going to go into it. So what API game setting is going to do is, I'll just do a default break, I guess. But what this is going to do is allow us to build out a API for setting things about the game. Okay, then we have the API for the lobby. This is where we're setting or getting. That's not finished yet, but it's a new function. Needs some work. Right now, it does attempt to call these things. Basically, it'll allow you to get the game settings. I haven't created any default game settings yet because I haven't had time to do that, and also because it's hard to, again, work on something you don't know what the game is going to be. So we're getting to a stage now where we have to plan out, at least at some level, what the game is going to be and maybe what it's going to be called, but certainly how it's going to work. So I'm just checking to see if there's any changes in auth. There aren't. There are changes in email. Just a reminder, I got rid of extends model because that doesn't matter. What else? I think there might be some changes in index, but I'm not sure. No, probably not. Let's look in. Here, yeah, I mean, we've got all these new kind of unfinished actions, but they are at least tied in. So I think we have enough at this point to at least start the client. So the first thing we're going to do is plan that out next video. So thanks for watching. This is Pixitron. I think we're on episode 11. And this is the PHP backend called Pixie PHP that I'll be uploading soon to get that started. And we're going to, at that point, branch off from what's uploaded. And if you follow along at that point, you'll be able to see the changes and, build a game around these technologies that are already up on my GitHub.